Hello.
Where's your intro, bro?
Oh,
What up, gang?
I was waiting for you. I'm not, because I'm in my house. I'm not gonna about to scream.
Well, you don't gotta scream. Gotta bring the energy, though.
What's up, guys? You know what it is. Another live stream, another Friday. Back at it. Freezing cold. Trees are exploding. Sap is falling out. Cars aren't starting, but we're still here. We're still live. Ain't that something? Even after Florida, even after getting 60-degree weather, 70 even, sunshine, UV, we still come back to it. We still give you guys a live stream. Whoa, what was that?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, I won't worry about it. Anyway, we are here. Oh, see, I see the second name now.
You see the second name?
Yeah, yours says owner tuner. Mine just says Tulo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, what's expected?
Florida, we were just in Florida and it wasn't warm.
Yeah,
I mean, it was warmer than this.
It was.
Yeah.
I'll say it. I enjoyed it. Tampa was nice. I'm not gonna lie. Tampa, St. Petersburg, it was so warm. It was like 75.
Yeah, what day did you go, though? Wasn't that Saturday when it was warm everywhere?
No. Well, yeah, but then the next
Yeah.
day it was cold. But
Yeah, it was warm. In Orlando, it was what, 75, mid 70s that day.
I just got off the phone with someone from Tampa today, and he was like, "Yeah, it's 75 and sunny. How is it up there?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's negative 40."
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it was crazy when we were leaving on Tuesday. We got notification on our phone that there's a heat wave coming through for the next 4 days. There wasn't enough
Don't
space.
get any part of.
Yeah.
So gotta love it.
So we had to go on us falling out of trees.
80 degrees Fahrenheit today. Please
What are you doing?
wear shorts for me because I can't.
I can hear.
Are you joining?
Got my
It's
heated
hot, y'all.
blanket on. I got
There you
space
go. You
heaters.
switch ears.
Wait.
I got electric socks.
Electric socks.
It is dicey. Listen,
What
I'm
is that
above the
water?
garage.
That's the lemonade.
Old
Ew.
fellas in my room.
Yeah, sorry. Spilled lemonade. Look.
Whoa.
Freezing cold, yes.
Freezing cold. We got the
Yeah.
missus joining today.
They said that trees could explode. I don't know if y'all saw that. They said that because of the sap freezing rapidly, the trees can just explode.
Oh, I only knew about sinkholes. That's pretty disturbing.
Oh, yeah, I heard about them frost quakes. I don't know. I don't like it.
There you
But
Oh,
at A cars,
disgusting. That's nice.
is it glory weather or 18 to 20 forecasted here?
Pre-blizzard. I don't know if we're going to get that weather. I don't know if we're going to get that snow up here. I know they're saying
I think that snow is more kind of like mid-America, like Kentucky, Kentucky land, and like East Coast.
Yeah,
Right.
They're in a shock. They're about to be in a
I
huge
saw like
shock.
New York's like 18 to 24 inches. So
Right.
Oh, man.
I'm not.
Sorry, guys.
No. I think it's going to miss us like the other blizzards that they forecasted. So hopefully we'll take that. But
Well,
Happy
I
to
mean,
be in
I'll
the
take it.
Midwest.
I'll take the cold over snow. But I got snow
Yeah.
tires. I didn't pay to not use them. So,
it's true. If it doesn't blow up.
yeah.
So this thing's pretty cool because it's live on Facebook and on YouTube now. So
I
if
think
we
this-
had, this
might
is
be the
awesome.
move for
Yeah,
everyone, man.
1 to 2
Well,
feet.
I could come home for the lives every Friday so we can get the internet. That's the reason why we haven't done this style before.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can set it up so you guys can
Yeah,
just do it at the shop, too.
yeah. The eTune dailies, I mean, ours will most likely start with some tweaking. I bet you the shop car would start. Yeah,
Yeah.
Demon Slayer?
yeah.
I mean,
The shop car fires
we can
every
go
time.
get a live reaction of the Civic, but it's not cranking.
Well, that's not on E85. He's saying he's talking about eTune cars.
Oh,
So-
I haven't seen that one come through yet.
Oh, you can't. Are you on your computer or your phone?
I'm on my phone. I can see the messages.
Oh, okay.
See Facebook and YouTube's. I'll pull up.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I have them. See, I'll show you. There we go.
sorry guys. This is just a touch
Novice.
on the message
It's
side.
touch
What we're
because
learning.
Tulo's here.
Can you see it on
Okay,
the screen,
yeah, I
Tulo?
got it pulled up on YouTube, so I'm watching
Oh, okay.
YouTube comments on the
All
back.
right, that's fine. I'll get the Facebook comments then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this cold weather is this gonna help someone 60 foot? Is this gonna
Oh yeah.
give that glory air? We gotta get
Yeah,
all Motor X out in this.
Excuse me.
I'm telling you, get the shop car out, man. This thing's running 890s. You know what I mean?
On a set of snow tires. This could be the only thing that's gonna grip.
Let me see what the DA is.
Is the 6-pack getting exhausted? Do you mean like, are we tired of it, or like, is it getting exhausted?
Is it just beat up from the cold? It's
Let me see.
neither.
It's cool.
Oh,
It's
dude.
really cool.
Too low.
Yeah.
Oh, it's backwards.
What is that? I can't read it.
Minus 4,700 DA.
Minus 40, bro. Hey, I should take
Dude,
it's in the Civic, man.
Dude,
I
I'm
could get
telling
my
you.
16.
You think I'm kidding? That car is probably making like 650 wheel horsepower if I were to dyno it in this weather. Easy.
Let's
Easy.
dyno it.
Yeah. So
let's get those fake dyno numbers, baby. Everyone
yeah,
loves
right?
that. So,
yeah. So
Yes,
that's crazy.
close and
I'd be very curious to see.
yeah.
Well, speaking,
I
you know,
I think I'm gonna go drive my car after this live stream.
there you go. Well, yeah.
It starts.
Well, you can drive here and pick up the draggy and then go for a hit.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got a good neighborhood for that.
Like a 40-minute trip out there. I won't make it that.
Yeah. Well, at
A lot
least
can happen.
given enough time for the Civic to hopefully heat up enough to where it's at operating temp.
What's crazy? That car heats up faster than both of my 5.7s.
Well, yeah.
It also has a half-size
Except it's-
radiator. Maybe it's
Well,
that. but,
And the holes and the rust. I don't know.
Yeah. That's the weight reduction.
autocorrect. New exhaust. Are we planning a new exhaust for the 6-pack?
Yeah. Yeah, we are. We're in talks with
Yes.
yeah, we need a track event now.
It's
like
negative
this
40.
moment. It's not snowing proactively, so if we could get a little bit of prep, we would be able to take a record. I can
We're
tell
just
you
gonna
that.
have to really tiger torch the track.
Dude, yeah, literally put a flamethrower under the car as we're going down. It'd be great for the Civic with the holes because you could literally heat the
That's
track
what I
as you're
was talking
going.
about. That's why it
But-
warms up faster.
But yeah, for the exhaust, we are in talks with aftermarket companies to see who's going to release the first one for us. For performance and racing purposes, we are looking at catless mids like we did on the RHO. We were supposed to have our charger dropped off somewhere on Monday. An accident happened. Literally, somebody got into a car accident, so that got pushed back. So we'll see what happens next week. There's a good chance it might be catless then. We know from the RHO that it makes a significant improvement from performance. So I do know at least that portion. And this car sounds better than the RHO. I think you'd agree.
I think it's gonna sound better catless than the RHO did.
Yeah, I think it will sound halfway decent. I mean, I get it. It's not a V8. That's not what it's designed for. So
I know.
Yeah.
It's exhaust. I mean, like even like the new SRT TRX, when you listen to it rev and you compare it to a Red, they sound completely different. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah. So I don't know if we see that. I see the comment because where I'm going, I don't know if it's shared on YouTube at the same time, but I do see it, John. So
I'm not seeing them on Restream and on Facebook. I'm not seeing them show up on YouTube. I'm just seeing the onlys there. So
yeah, we'll see how it posts up. I see them, so I'll get them either way. So that's not a problem at all. But yeah, well, I'm curious to see what it'll sound like catless. So we have the flanges and everything from the RHO. So I think because of what happened, I was told I got a couple weeks before it's going to be out of my possession. I think we will throw that mod on and see how it sounds because Hellcats 392s, I think, they sound great when you do a mid pipe, for off-road purposes and then leave the factory cat back. So, I'm curious to see how it will sound. So we'll see. What it sounds like, with those mid pipes. But from a performance standpoint, I know what we were seeing is, for example, with the JB4 we're using, I was getting like map 3 power on map 2. So it didn't require as much of a controller variable to get to that higher power level. So we still weren't able to make more power because of the injector pulse width limit we were running into. So that sadly, because of the OEM computer, is the limiting factor until we get any type of fueling control, which is in the works. So I do know Terry over at Burger Tuning did purchase a Charger 6-pack. So they are working side by side with us to try to get that stuff dialed in. So it is a matter of time, but I think that's a great question since we are on modifying our 6-pack. So I will jump over to, for those that are in our Charger 6-pack group, we did post up that we created an intake system for the 6-pack. Very similar to that. We did this testing on our Grand Wagoneer with the Hurricane and our RHO with the Hurricane. So we basically made just a very straight through, no muffled, performance oriented intake system, open element, because the Charger 6-pack is a closed box element setup. So we did testing. So yesterday we simply put it on at operating temp, and we did 2 pulls with basically bone stock form, no JB4. Cooking, it was at full operating temp. It did 467, 470 horsepower with 481, 482 torque. That was bone stock, no JB4, stock boost, everything like that. So nice, hot. I literally drove it to the shop and we threw it on the dyno. So, so then what we did was simply put our intake on it, which we will post up the results on our page later. But it's just basically a straight tube with a open element filter on it. We did do a transition from 4.5 to 3.5 inches, so allow more airflow in. Data logged it with the JB4, and we lost power. So the green line was the first pull that we did. That was pretty, it was quickly. I mean, it took us not even 10 minutes to swap the intake system on. So, it didn't get a good cool down. So I guess that would be considered 3 back-to-back pulls. So then what we did is we let it cool down for about 15 minutes. I started the pull at the same operating temp as the first 2 pulls, and it made essentially the exact same power. So if you look at the dyno graph, the blue and the red are stock back-to-back pulls, and you'll see the green a little, warmer. It did lose power across the RPM power band all the way across. Once we let it cool down, it literally is almost identical in regards to power output, down to the number. I mean, 471 and 481. So what that shows is at stock boost levels, the factory airbox is not a restriction, to the point where the factory filter is not a restriction. Now, a couple of things that we did notice from more pulls after this fact, because I started playing around with the JB4 at this point because it tricks the map sensor. The 2 things that we noticed is, one, which is kind of expected after several back-to-back pulls out of an open element filter, we were getting higher inlet temps. So naturally, you're going to see a drop in horsepower. The other thing we saw is we were seeing more boost quicker, and it was causing the throttle body to close, which I think is part of the reason we were seeing the power reduction that we were seeing. So what that tells me is that, the way these vehicles work now is they have electronic wastegates. The duty cycle was preset based on adaptives. So when we freed up the airflow from the airbox, it was seeing too much boost too soon. So it was actually trying to get the adaptives. So as I did more pulls with the aftermarket intake on it, it started to level out and essentially made the same exact horsepower. So what that does tell me is that the intake system itself can pose as a restriction, but sadly, until we get actual tuning on it, we are going to be limited. So that is kind of what we ran into, even using the JB4, because of how the JB4 tricks the map sensors. It had the same result, where on the actual loss of power was greater. So as an example, on our map 2 setting, originally we made about 540, 550 wheel horsepower. We were struggling to maintain 500 on map 2 with the intake because of how it's tricking the system. It was actually closing the throttle body more. And then obviously with continued abuse, the intake temp started to increase, and it still was very unhappy. So what that tells me is that the intake is a restriction, and putting an aftermarket one on will be beneficial down the road. But until we get actual tuning on the vehicle, it's not going to be very beneficial. So I know there's people out there, that are doing it on the Rams, right? The HO Rams, where they're throwing canines on and they're feeling quicker and stuff. What we have to understand on these Hurricane applications, being that they're turbo based, they will attempt to hit their targeted torque no matter what's going on. And the beauty of turbos is they will hit their desired boost no matter what, because it's electronically controlled boost. So if you free something up over time, the adaptives will kick in where it might lower the duty cycle and run less boost to achieve the desired torque. So this is why sometimes the initial dyno numbers, when you see people go, oh, I gained 20 horsepower by throwing an intake on, it's actually going to change with the adaptives. So the reality is a turbo setup will hit the boost it wants and the torque that it wants. All it does is increase the wastegate duty cycle to make the turbo achieve the boost that it needs. One of the beauties of turbos is that they can do that with varying conditions. This is also why early on in the days of the RHO testing with the Hurricane, we were seeing that as it got warmer, we actually were able to make the vehicle go quicker, because with the colder inlet temps, it was actually running less boost. So, because it doesn't need as much boost with colder air to hit the desired, levels that you need. So as it got warmer outside, the vehicle is commanding more wastegate duty cycle to compensate, and then pair that up with the JB4 that's tricking it, it actually was getting even more boost. So we're seeing that now still guys are testing out there that they are actually getting quicker times on these platforms in warmer temps because of that reason, when you don't have true tuning control. So, that's something that, people have to consider when they're doing the tricks and the things that we're doing to try and achieve what we're trying to achieve. So it's still very impressive to be able to make the power that we're making with these, with a simple plug and play style system. But it is still going to be extremely limited in the results. So what I'm seeing by the data logs with this intake is that, like, our, the reality is our level 1 package, once we get full access tuning to this thing, we will make mid 600s to the wheel on a tune only with an intake. That's stock exhaust, stock catback, stock cats, everything.
Yep.
So, again, this is not a Hellcat replacement. We're obviously going to compare it to the Hellcat since there isn't anything else out there. And that's the last holy grail vehicle that, is known by Dodge. But the reality is this is a scat pack replacement. So, when you do apples to apples, you have to look at what did it used to take on a scat pack to make Hellcat power. And you had to buy some sort of power adder, nitrous, turbos, blower, then tune, and a fuel system, where literally this car out of the box with a proper tune will make those power levels. So I also cannot wait to get my hands on the trans of this thing, because yeah, that's one of the things that people have to be careful of with, RHOs and any type of JB4 and everything, is you got to remember it's a stock trans tune.
Yeah.
So right now we are struggling to get the transmission to stay happy with anything over map 2 when it comes to any type of racing or testing. Map 3, it's just not, it's freaking out, because like we have stated before, the PCM doesn't know that you're making an additional 100 horsepower, 140 foot-pounds of torque. There's no setting that gets relayed in for it to know that. So the trans setting is going to be like a stock vehicle, or even potentially less than stock, based on the tricks we're playing with the map sensor. So you do have to be extremely careful. But the fact is, our car now on map 2 is running mid 11s consistently. I'm pump gas, 93 pump gas, no blend or anything like that. With the stock airbox, if I put the aftermarket one on it, it does slow down significantly. So imagine if I compare that up with the trans tune and rev it out an extra 300 RPM and play with the VVT a little bit. It's going to be a bottom 11-second car, possibly high 10s on pump gas with literally just a tune. So still very impressive vehicles. Still very impressive
I gotta
vehicles.
get to the grocery store fast. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In the snow.
Yeah.
Being that it's all-wheel drive.
I need it.
No one wants to buy any. Once it's out, I need it.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody asked
how long.
Yeah, you see it?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. You see it. Yeah.
PCM's unlocked on those.
So sadly, we were falsely informed of the PCMs that were going to be installed in this vehicle when they were released. We don't know if it's like a initial release type thing because we got one of the first ones to the public, or if they changed their mind or what. But sadly, the PCM is not what we thought it was going to be. So that being said, I obviously, with my relationship with HB Tuners, I'm, pressuring them greatly to help me get full access to this PCM and the TCM. One of the other things that is slightly tricky on this platform and the RHO and the other Rams is, we had to install a smart access cable to bypass the security module to be able to tune. They got rid of that and fully integrated it into the module. So there's other hurdles that go into the more modern vehicles to be able to tune them. So it's not just getting access to the computer. It's also how do we actually flash the computer. So yeah, it was a little disheartening when we saw, that it wasn't what we thought it was going to be. But just like when Dodge, HB Tuners first got access to Dodge, and when the 15s came out and the PCM had to be unlocked and the smart access, they'll figure it out. I do know that, we get asked all the time, when is the RHO or other Hurricane models going to be tunable? they put it on the back burner because they wanted to see what this new platform was going to be. And because of what we were told, they paused it because they didn't want to put too much time and R&D into a platform that was going to be dated. So here we are now, and they see what now is available and what most likely the future is going to hold. So they're reopening the urgency behind trying to get access to this computer and possibly other ones as well. So we will do whatever we can to, assist with that process. But yeah, for the time being, we don't have an actual ETA. I will tell you, we will be the first ones to tune it, and we will be very loud when that happens. Also, the transmission, like I said, that's another hurdle. It's a new trans. They'll probably be able to access that fairly quick. But do you want to say hi?
No, but
Okay.
I just want to tell you something.
Okay, what do you want to tell us?
I'll be telling you.
That's fine. Leave her
Okay.
be, baby.
So you want to
Thank you for
change
telling
the
us.
show?
Mhm.
Okay. What do you want?
Okay.
Home all alone.
Oh, Home Alone?
Does anybody know if it's on
Classic.
Prime or
Maybe.
Disney or
I have no idea, but
Netflix?
reminder, we are at home because it's minus
Yeah.
40 degrees outside with the
Real
wind
time
chill.
here,
So
people.
this is real time at home. Stop shaking your butt.
Stop. Go
So,
sit down.
but yeah, so we'll see, and we will be the first. So we're excited about it. And again, I repeat over and over, this is not a Hellcat replacement. Is there going to be something Hellcat related? Absolutely. We don't know if it's this chassis. They're going to surprise us with something different. The fact is, as a Scat Pack 57392 replacement, this platform is outstanding. It's technically not a performance vehicle. And Tula, I know we talked about it. We keep people comparing it to the S58 and like the M3s and the M5s. But that's not what this is. This is more of, like I said, like the 550i, right? It's not a true
nice.
like
Comfortable daily.
Yeah, it really it's
that happens to be really fast.
Yeah, it has the potential to be quick.
Yeah.
It's all-wheel drive, it's big, it's heavy, it's comfortable,
Mhm.
and just being turbo, twin turbo and an inline six-cylinder has the ability to make a decent amount of power. So our child just
So
fell.
it's
You
Disney
okay?
Plus, by the way, for Home Alone.
Yeah, they found it. Yes.
You
I don't know
gotta-
if we're going to get banned for monetization for that. So, Disney hit us up if we need to do anything there. But yeah, so yeah, it's not a Hellcat replacement. We just use the Hellcat as a comparison because it's making Hellcat power. So, for others that haven't seen it before, this is the dyno graph of, stock it made 485, which is the red line. And then the blue line is on map 4 with our little JB4 plug and play tuner. And then the green is a stock Hellcat, and that's about the average of what we see out of a stock Hellcat. So the fact is, when we talk about Hellcat power, you can see up until literally 5,400 RPM, our little 3-liter twin turbo made more horsepower and more torque all the way up to that point. The only reason it fell off, just before 5,000 RPM and then really flatline is because of cat overtemp protection and the lack of the ability to tune fueling.
Yep.
So we have done a little beta testing on it. I can't release a lot of this stuff, but I can tell you I did a same pull on this one and picked up 30 horsepower right out of the gate. It just wasn't stable that we're comfortable releasing it yet. But to give an example, that you can see where it really starts to plateau over. If we can continue that line above, that tells us that this thing's going to make 650, 660 wheel horsepower on pump gas. And that's just to tune that stock airbox and everything. And there were no signs of detonation. And it's just, and the reason, again, it fell off, that blue line just tapers down so far, is because it was getting down into single digit fueling, which this is a direct injection engine. So you're talking 2.5, 3 points, too rich. And, it was actually rich misfiring during the pulls. So if I shifted it, at 50, say just shifted at 5,000 RPM, this thing's going to pull more than a Hellcat. It's just the Hellcat has the ability for the back half, right? Also, they and what I find funny too is people are talking about the red lines on these things. As you can see from the graph, it basically red lines to where stock Hellcat red lines. I get it, it's a dual overhead cam 3-liter and it should rev out more, but it always comes down to why if the power band can be had with less RPM. So it's a fun platform. The engine is outstanding. I agree. It would be way better in something that was 25% lighter and smaller, and maintaining the all-wheel drive and everything. And even if it goes rear-wheel drive, it's going to be a fun platform. But even guys, if they put a Hellcat motor in this thing, probably would weigh the same, if not more, because of the block and everything. I know, and you're going to lose the all-wheel drive though. So you have a vehicle that weighs almost 5,000 pounds in rear-wheel drive. It's not going to be very well in regards to performance, and that's part of what makes this vehicle fun, is the fact that it hooks anywhere. Like I said, our quickest time on a draggy happened when it was actually snowing outside. You can't do that in a Hellcat or 392, or you know what I mean, in 30-degree weather with snow coming down. That's what makes this vehicle so fun. So kind of like the RHO to TRX, right? People thought I was crazy when I said the RHO made a better daily driver and was more enjoyable than a TRX. And it's kind of funny because the CEO of Ram, Tim, said the exact same thing. He said, if you're looking for a daily driver, the RHO is where it's at, because it was smooth, it was lighter, you could feel it, it braked better. And it like I said, because of the gearing and everything, the 0 to 60 time was almost, it felt the same.
It felt way more nimble than the TRX did. The TRX kind of feels like, it's cool, it sounds great, it just kind of feels a bit boaty, where with the, the less weight, it felt so much better. Just if you drive one and you'll get it.
Right. The TRX was fun. It was so fun. But RHO, daily, all day. I mean, we miss Daddy Dinosaur Truck and the
that's what they
green,
call it.
But
Daddy Dinosaur Truck.
Yeah.
But like I said, the TRX is fun if you're looking for maximum horsepower. Obviously, it's hard to compete with a Hellcat. You know what I mean? But the fact of the matter is, majority of the people don't need that. And they don't use it. That's the other thing. It's better on fuel economy too. I mean, that's something that's not easily or not, talked about a lot is the fuel economy. It is better than the TRX, hands down. Same thing in the 392.
What do you, I mean, not that you've had super long distance trips to really get a good idea of it, but what do you get out of your Charger gas mileage wise?
If I get on the highway and cruise, it's high 20s. I mean, it literally, no, it's not. If I sit there and when I say cruise, I'm not talking at 64 miles an hour, behind it. I'm talking, based
epic.
Yeah. Based on, in car, what it's saying, it's saying above 25 miles to the gallon cruising and, our parts, speed limit 70, 75, 80 miles an hour. You know what I mean? So it is better. Around town, I think, is where it excels a little bit more. Because with our tunes and the 392s and even the Hellcats, people get pretty decent gas mileage. It just doesn't suffer as much around town, especially because of being turbo. If you're light on the pedal, turbos don't kick in, so it's just a 3-liter that's pulling you through without boost. You know what I mean? So whereas big hungry V8 and or a blown V8, you know what I mean? It's just going to suck fuel down when you're accelerating, and that's the part that's hard to compete with when you have a vehicle that has an engine half the size. You know what I mean? So, yeah. What? Did I miss something?
They just asked if Tulo, if he's in the clear, if he can do an adult beverage. And I said, and we need him upright for the live. That's all.
85 is alcohol. Just putting it out.
I'm not doing that. I know what it is. I'm just, if you drink it, I keep jars off duty.
Yeah, right.
I see nothing.
Circling back to it, when you're talking about the drive system, about how beneficial that all-wheel drive is.
Yeah.
We were asking it, some other people were asking it. On the 6-pack, because of that selectable rear-wheel drive, one, what are the limitations for it? Like, can you do a full quarter-mile pass if you wanted to? Or does it have like a speed limiter? Or, can you switch it while you're driving? How does it work?
Good question. So we'll start with the last one you said. No, you cannot switch it while you're driving. So it's not like a 4x4 pickup truck where, you can switch on the fly or at low speeds. You have to be physically stopped for it to disengage the T-case. Mm-hmm. So if you guys didn't see the pictures and one of the videos we talked about, there is an actual T-case with the front drive shaft that, goes to the front differential and, has axles coming out of it. So the way it works is you have to be in sport mode and you have to be stopped and click the rear wheel drive button. It highlights, and then on the dash by the speedometer, it does pop up and say rear wheel drive. It will stay rear wheel drive until you click the button or turn the vehicle off. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't auto disengage. There's no speed limit. You could sit there and drift, do a full quarter mile, half mile, go to the speed limiter. There is no limiting factor when in two-wheel drive mode. So we asked that before we got ours, and we have tested it. Hence why on the dyno, I'm going to 160 miles an hour, in rear wheel drive with 0 issues to the T case. And it's pretty cool. Not going to lie. Julie, you can tell them because I let you drive it, so you can speak from, a different perspective.
It's pretty sick. I mean, the all-wheel drive, it just goes. You push the gas, the car just goes. There's not really any dramatics. It just accelerates. You put it in rear-wheel drive, it'll kick a bit. It's not going to, give all the same hoopla like the 6.4s did, where you have all that noise with it, but it's still a stock exhaust for now. So give us time and it will change. But yeah, I loved it. I don't want one now because they're all still low mile, one owner, clean titles. As soon as they start hitting Copart, I might have to pick myself up one because it's kind of like what he said. It's the perfect daily. Like I love it. I don't care. That car is so good for anything I want it to do.
Nice.
It works.
Yeah.
I can sit in the back. I have leg room in the back. I'm tall. Like it's a darn good car.
Yeah. And I know, the 4-doors are just coming out for the EVs and not out for the 6-pack yet. But Patrick Rawl, who wrote a couple of articles on us messing with this one already, he got to drive a 4-door EV and then straight over to the 6-pack. I appreciate how they tried really going back to the 68, 69 Charger heritage and keeping the Charger 2-wheel drive or 2-door. But because of the, we've talked about it, the angles and stuff, it just needed something. And the 4-door looks better, in my opinion. It breaks it up, the windows, the angles and everything. It looked much better.
Especially in the blacks where you kind of lose some of like the definition. It 100%, man. 100%.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the mistakes we made. I get my cars black because we wrap them, but I'm seeing more of the colored ones out there, and you actually see more of the lines to it. The black does kind of make it a little more boring.
I like that red one. Whoever has that one that just got red, it's
the red and the blue all the colors are actually really nice.
They are.
What?
I'm in love with that green. I don't know the official name, but it's like
it's
8.
Right. Yeah. A little off of the F8, but the 4-door definitely adds to it and keeps the lines, but it just breaks everything up a little bit better. And like we've talked about before, the 2-door versus the 4-door, it's the same exact chassis. So the wheelbase, size, everything is exactly the same other than the doors. They basically cut the door down and then, get one for the rear, which makes it easier to load the kids up. So, that's I'm excited
to see if the 4-door, I don't think it is. I think they still use the same like rear seats. I was going to say, I want to see if the 4-door has any extra like rear seat headroom. Because I don't know, kind of smashed.
Yeah, they did state that it's literally the exact same dimensions, interior, same part numbers for the seats. Literally everything is the same. So it's exactly the same. So
I'm also abnormal. So
you are abnormal. And now your legroom was great. So just shrink your torso and you're fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sucks.
So
let's see what else I had.
Somebody asked if GT House is back in the picture. They make great systems. So we had an interesting experience with GT House. They were supposed to make me an exhaust for the RHO, and they had, how long did they have it? Wasn't it like 4 weeks?
It was a month.
4 or 5 weeks they had it.
Yeah,
almost longer than I owned it. Basically,
and
had it in my possession. No, that was a different car, a different company. Yeah. So they had the RHO. They were supposed to make an exhaust for the RHO. They had it for over a month and they didn't do anything except cut up my factory exhaust. And then they agreed to give me or work with me on an exhaust for the C8 when we had the Vet, which was a valved version of their exhaust. And we got that and the valves didn't work. Yeah, they put them in backwards. So I do that. Their craftsmanship is outstanding, and I know they do make some good products out there. But sadly, my experience with them on the last 2 vehicles I had did not go over too well. I understand the concepts and the ability, but these vehicles from the factory do have valves built into them, into their exhaust. And it's very unique how they did it. It's very backwards too. I think next week we're going to do, I did a little 15-minute walk around when I got the car. But now that the vacation settled and things like that, we're back in it. I think we should do that driving actual review of the car. I know some people have been asking for a little more in depth on it, and not from a a media writer standpoint.
Yeah.
So I think we'll bump into that and kind of break it down. But the on the 392 Hellcats and everything, the valves are built like right into the catback exhaust before the resonator, right? On this car, it's actually a valved exhaust, so it's inside the muffler basically where it actually valves it, and there's a bypass that goes around. It's very interesting how they did it. So it's more of a GT House style factory exhaust. That's why I'm kind of curious to see how it sounds with some restriction removed. Let's put it that way. So
I want to hear that single turbo, baby.
Single turbo would be a winner. Yes, we need to figure that out. I if I had tuning, bro, if it worked out like we thought it was, it would be done already. But
I can't believe they whatever.
Again, it's the chain, right? There's nothing against the people that told us, but it is what it is. It's part of what we face when we go through this stuff. So
someone said, how can I get louder turbo noises out of it?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So part of the reason why we try to go to intake. So if you're joining late, we did make an intake system for our Grand Wagoneer, RHO, and the 6-pack. All custom to fit in the engine bay and everything, in hopes that not only would it add power, but also turbo noises. It did nothing. Now, from a phone, if I recorded on a phone, remember on the RHO, it's you can hear it from a phone, but audibly to people's ears, you really don't hear it. There's little to no change at all. I'm sure if on a minus 40-degree day I'd go out, I'd probably hear some sort of suction sound, but literally on the dyno, you can't tell me a free rev, a pull from outside. You cannot tell me which car is stock or has a aftermarket intake on it. Part of the reason, the main reason is people don't know this, but you can build a compressor housing of a turbo to silence the airflow that goes into it. Borg Warner, for example, is one turbo manufacturer that their compressor housings are naturally quiet unless you get, their EFR series or some of their other high-end series. And they do this because of... They do that because these are for passengers that don't necessarily want turbo noises, right? It's not everybody is trying to get in, so they try to muffle it. Some people are making comments how our dyno, the rollers of our dyno, were actually louder than the car itself. That just kind of shows you where the focus is and why it's not like a performance-oriented vehicle, right? So, yeah, it's one of those that even when we tuned the Grand National with the Motec and everything, you barely hear the turbo noises in the same fashion. Now, if you watch some of the other influencers that did the single turbo swap, I think somebody did a twin turbo swap as well. You could hear the turbos on that one because they had the compressor housing swapped, obviously, to an aftermarket turbo. Helion was known because they had a screamer upgrade to their turbos that amplified the turbo sounds on the compressor housing. So you only can do so much with the hard parts that they give you. And sadly, the factory turbos have mufflers built in, and it's not like the diesels where you can remove them. It's physically built into it's just the mold, the cast of it.
They just pull out. It's actually part of the housing itself.
Yeah.
Casting.
Yeah. Yeah. Some diesels, a lot of guys, they would remove the silencer from the interior of the compressor housing. These are literally the cast of the compressor housing. So sadly, yes, it's very difficult.
5-axis, maybe, possibly.
Once we get tuning, once we get tuning on it, it's definitely going to be something. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a market now to say, hey, we can make your turbos louder and spend $2,000 on some compressor wheels and who knows how much labor. So,
no horsepower gain. Someone said Motec.
Yes. Your car misses you.
Battery, I will gladly Motec a brand new $70,000 car.
If it could integrate with my Canvas, I would do it in a heartbeat. If I could,
so much nice, the T case, you can turn it off, from the infotainment center.
Right.
It's so hard to standalone a car like that has so much functionality through the stock Canvas system.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to give up. It's not a race car. Like I said, this isn't it's got performance features, but it's not a performance vehicle. You know what I mean? It's not designed to be that. So it is what it is. We're working with it, having fun with it. It makes
build with a Hurricane, swap it into the Charger shop car.
Oh, dude, if I did, that'd be crazy. Yeah, I mean, think about the shop car now, makes what, 540 wheel horsepower, 540 torque. So this thing making, 650 foot-pounds of torque and 580 wheel without tuning. Yeah, if I could Motec swap that one all day long and have no problem with it. So if anybody from Dodge wants to give me one to do that, let me know. I will throw it in a heartbeat. Although we just put the interior back in.
Yeah, we can take it back out.
Yeah, we can. It's just time. That's all it is.
I think that's about the last of the exclusively 6-packs.
I think so.
A lot more Gen 3. So this is kind of a little transition for you. How limited will I be running my Hellcat or 6-pack on 91 versus 93? Is it going to hurt me at all if it's stock? What about when I go to add some power to it?
Yeah, the 91, 93, the 2 point seems very minuscule, but part of it is to the quality of the 91, 93. So as an example, right now, like our winter blend 93 is probably very close to like a good 91 in another place down south, right? So you just out of a safety piece, you do want to be slightly more conservative. I would say, maybe 5%, 3 to 5% would be the variable I would do as a safety measure in regards to horsepower. So I can't sit there and say, oh, it's 20 horsepower, because on an NA application, it might not be any different, right? But on a boosted application, it might be safer to subtract 20 horsepower from a given setup. This is why, and what tuning is for, is to see how the vehicle is responding to the fuel that you have. Big reason why remote tuning is nice, because you have the fuel in it that you're using at your location. I can't tell you the amount of times after builds we put the fuel we have and then people get it back and I have to tweak it because the quality of fuel is different. So it's, again, the whole concept of octane is detonation resistance, at rate the rate of which fuel is burning to battle detonation. So naturally, as octane drops, you're gonna see a reduction in power potential or the ability to battle detonation. So yeah, again, every application is a little different. I'll give an example. I have a customer now I'm remote tuning for. The shop I'm remote tuning for didn't build it, but it's a high compression 426 build and they want to run 91. I'm not a big fan of it right now because it is very high compression for 91. And it's not like this was a race car or anything like that. It's somebody's daily driver that somebody just kind of spec things a little wrong. So yeah, it's one of those that, they're not going to make the maximum power just because they can't. I mean, the thing is already kind of battling the knock sensors at idle just because of how noisy and aggressive it is. So yeah, there can be a big difference. It's also the brand and the quality of the fuel. Understand the octane rating is only one sense of what the fuel is capable of. And yeah, that's kind of, you do have to reduce it for safety, but the car will tell you how unhappy or happy it may be.
Absolutely. So on that topic, 93 octane, let's say I got myself a Hellcat, I want 900 wheel on 93. What do I got to do? Is that something I can, just pulley down and get there? Or am I looking at a motor or turbos or something?
So we hear this a lot. Everybody wants big power, but they don't want to run corn or they don't have corn available. So based on the bottom end, how it's built, the compression ratio, it is stock at 9.5 to 1. We have learned over the years, and the general rule of thumb is you want to stay around 15 to 16 pounds of boost. So being it's a Hellcat, as you referenced, and this kind of goes hand in hand if you're at a 9.5 to 1 compression setup. It's very universal in that range. And then as compression goes up, the safe boost level for pump gas drops. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. So that being said, how do you get a Hellcat, Red Eye, Trackhawk, anything like that around that 900 wheel mark, but pump gas is all you have? What we have to do is we have to make the engine more efficient. So how do we do that? Cam swap. So we adjust the cam profile and make it more efficient there. Exhaust restriction reduction. So long tube headers, taking the manifolds off and going to a nice set of 2-inch primaries. Porting the heads as well is beneficial. But as we always say, the way to make power out of a supercharged application is airflow delivery. So if you do all of those mods, but you don't spin the blower faster, guess what? You're going to make stock power or just above stock power. You're not necessarily going to gain horsepower if the supercharger isn't flowing more air. So you still do have to get the supercharger to rotate or deliver the airflow of 900 horsepower. So couple ways to do that. You can do an upper lower pulley combination, our 10% overdrive lower with a 274 upper. Another common one we do is people will send the blower out to be ported with upgraded HD race bearings, because then it doesn't require as much RPM out of the blower. So you can then do like a 274 upper only while keeping the stock lower. And that will allow to achieve power like that. So either way, you have to start by spinning the supercharger and delivering the airflow that you need, and then just making an efficient engine after that. So we've achieved 900 and beyond with that RPM out of a blower and or ported blower with our heads cam and long tube setup. And then you throw it on corn, and there you go. There's another 60 horsepower plus on top of it from there. So it can be done, absolutely. Just requires a little bit more than just a simple pulley combination.
Absolutely. I guess still on fuel. Let's talk about, where did that one just go? I just left it. Can I run E85 on stock injectors? I got myself a Hellcat. Man, I want that E85. I'm hearing you can get 40 to 60 horse just by going E85. And I'm seeing on the interwebs that I can do it on stock injectors. Truth, fact, fiction, or...
So here's the thing about these vehicles, the way they're tuned from the factory. They have safety limits put into place. So with the safety limits, there's reasons behind it. So as a tuner and shop, we generally try to target and keep injectors at a happy range of 80 to 90% duty cycle on the high end, right? 90% I would only do if I'm tuning it in a super... Where'd you go?
I guess he was done with this.
I guess he was done. We lost Tulo. So I'll keep going on this one.
Floor,
so
you want to say hi?
You want to pop in? So we 90% I would only be like okay with if it was a super, super cold day when I was tuning it, because that's what we have to leave a margin of error for. So the settings are in place to utilize that type of safety. Okay. So when it comes to the stock injectors, yes, I know my background's off. Where'd you go, Tulo? Oh, there he is. He's back.
Oh,
lost you there.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi exploded. It was
so. I guess so. Yeah. So with the so basically we want to achieve that and keep that injector duty cycle, in a happy place. Mm-hmm. So the only way a shop will be able to get you any type of numbers on E85, is they have to remove that safety limit, and your injector duty cycle is going to exceed 100% by quite a bit. This is also the way that people do like our level 1, for example, which is an upper pulley with injectors that we normally do. People say, oh, you can throw red eyes in there, red eye injectors or demon injectors, and be okay. The only way they can do that is they have to exceed and raise this limit of those stock injectors. And there's a reason for that. We showed it. Was it 2 weeks ago or was it before? Anyways, a few weeks ago, we used our injector cleaner and we showed the different spray patterns that come from different injectors and the reasons why some injectors are superior over others. So sometimes it's not always the fact that it flows more, but it has a better spray pattern, because you can make more horsepower by a better spray pattern that atomizes better over something that might necessarily flow more. So there's a lot of reasons why, and we do our could you, should use. We've kind of gotten away from that and just go to questions, but we used to say, could you, should you? So the answer is, could you run red eye injectors with E85 on a stock setup? Technically, yes, a tuner can go in, raise the limits, and you can try to tune it and get it to a safe air-fuel ratio. Should you? The answer to that is no, because the spray pattern on red eye and Hellcat injectors is less than optimal, especially trying to push it to a point of fuel delivery that's needed for E85. This is also why we don't like to use red eye injectors on our level 1 packages, because the spray pattern is not ideal. And again, we're going to have to raise it to a point of, beyond satisfactory, flow of that injector. So, and this goes across the board to 5.7, 6.1s, 392s. You cannot run it. And I know there's those piggyback systems that adjust your injector pulse with, kind of like we do with the 6-pack. We're adjusting the map sensor. They adjust the injector pulse with. I have personally tried tuning my own 392 on E85 with stock injectors, and I exceeded 125% duty cycle, and it was still lean. So your computer doesn't know that, when you have those piggybacks. And the fact is they just physically don't flow enough. What also then happens when you open an injector far beyond 100% duty cycle is your field pressure starts to drop at the same time, because you're making such large holes. You know what I mean? If you're sitting again at 25 milliseconds or 30 milliseconds, it's such a large hole that, look at a garden hose. If you start poking holes in it and, water starts flowing out, the end is going to suffer in regards to flow characteristics. So you start to lose that quality. Cattail.
Oh, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that's Tootsie. This is our, there's our one of our rescues. So, yeah, no, you can't. You could, like I said, there's ways systematically where you can make a dyno pull and try to say that you can, but once you put real life load, get it on the street, get it in real operating conditions, absolutely should not do it. And we don't do it. I just was contacted by somebody asking if it was possible to do it. And is she going after the, yeah. So it just be smart about it, guys. Just, buy a proper set of injectors. There's better benefits than just keeping your engine alive as well. So no, you should not. Yeah.
Absolutely. On that same topic of stock stuff with E85, should you run a stock 6.4 Scat Pack fuel pump on a E85 header car or E85 header cam car?
Great question. So our record holding shop car, which is a stock Vitamin NA392, like we said earlier, it makes 540, 550 wheel horsepower, is on a stock fuel pump.
Yep.
And it's 2017. So how old is that now? Math.
I mean, that
9 years,
7,000 miles on it, some odd.
Yes, 70,000 miles on that fuel pump, and it's pumping out. I will tell you, it's not super happy, but we are one of the higher horsepower, style applications. But it's made several 1030, 1040 passes with no issue. When I say several, I'm talking dozens in a single day. I have over the years had stock fuel pumps fail. Just from the additional strain and wear. So it doesn't live forever, but a healthy factory fuel pump can deliver enough fuel for E85, especially on just a header or stock car. So you do not have to change the fuel pump at all unless boosted and you want to run E85. So NA applications, the stock fuel pump is usually more than enough. I had, like I said, with our setup on 90-1050s, I have plenty of injector left, to run more power. Wake up, Tulo. Gosh, at home, and I bet you're not even wearing pants. So good question though, because I know the internet says otherwise. I see people trying to say they're dropping in Walbro 400 pumps or Hellcat pumps. It's completely unnecessary, man.
Really
just over injector it slightly.
What do you need, Evelyn?
What? Hold on. Do what?
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. Go for it. So sorry, kids.
This cat is very aggressive
today.
Yes. You mean she always is? I mean, look at this.
What's this cat's name?
That's Tootsie.
Tootsie.
She's a little sweet pea. Look at her.
Ugh.
Yeah.
She knocked off her everything on the. Made a whole mess last night.
Yeah, she was mad at us for being gone, but
they get that way, man. They're finicky.
Yeah. Somebody asked another question earlier about E85.
Dude.
She biting the cable.
Oh.
It's all right. It'll come through the speakers if I. Hi. Ow! Stop biting the cable.
Biting.
We're having a cat party.
We usually have dogs, so. Oh no, she's gonna attack the screen.
She's gonna love this. Oh, there she is.
Cat gone. Sorry, Tula.
She's finicky. But
that's a tabby. Yeah, they're.
Yeah.
I'm looking for
that torty.
Torties.
Let's see what else we got.
Torty.
You find that question?
Oh yeah. It's a similar question. Is stock 6.4 with a fuel pump good for E85 long tube? I think he asked the same question again. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Stock fuel pump's fine. Do you want to say hi?
No.
You were a star a couple weeks ago.
No.
Okay. So, reminder for all: we are home because of the weather in our parts. It is up to -7 without wind chill, where we're sitting mid-20s, 30s with -20s, 30s with wind chill. So, not too shabby.
It must be nice over there. I'm sitting at -9.
Oh, are you?
Balmy
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, it's balmy over there.
Yeah.
Break out the tanning beds, folks.
The tanning beds. There you go.
This is one I saw in the Facebook group, which I thought was quite interesting. Should you run a NA converter on a turbo setup? The internet says that nothing will matter. A converter is a converter. It doesn't matter the stall. If you have an aftermarket converter, it's gonna work.
It depends on the manufacturer and how it's a spec, how it was originally spec. So no, not all converters are created equal. Turbo converters have some different internals and setups, to allow brake torquing, obviously to build boost and different friction plates and things like that. So it's one of those. It depends on the setup. If you're going for 800 horsepower.
No, baby, I can go. Do you want me to help you? Come on. Let's go.
I'm talking to the people.
I got a cat. All right.
All right.
Excuse me. Do you want to sit in for me?
All right. So
Take the cat?
it depends, right?
Okay.
If you're just a street car and you have like an NA converter because you built an NA and you're throwing a turbo on it,
Hello.
you want to do it?
Yeah.
All right, join on. You want the headphone?
Woo!
There you go. All right. So you can run it, right? It'll be okay. But if you're like track focused where you are going to the track every day, you're going to cook up that NA converter. There you get it again, but again, it depends on who you bought it from and how it's set up. A triple billet stator converter type thing, for example, will be fine, but not all converters created equal. They do have horsepower limits. So that's something you have to look at as well. Generally if somebody's saying it's an NA converter, they're not going to spec it to handle 1500 horsepower because there's no reason. One, they're heavier, more expensive. So yeah, it's not always going to be equal like for like. So I get a lot of variables that go into that, but right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She's just happy to be here, not in school.
Yeah. Well, they were gone off of school for a week, so they go back and then they get an extra day already. So
Heavenly, baby.
that was him coughing.
Would have dreamed of days like that as a child. I had like one bad snow day.
Yeah, right. Or like, back in my day, we never had a snow. I'm like, bro, you're acting like you're 50 or 60 years old. You're 30, man.
Bro.
You never saw it.
Oh my god. We had to walk 10 miles uphill both ways.
Yeah.
Like a light bulb.
What is the limit? Does the new 6-pack have a diff that looks, I'm say it just like the outgoing ZF diffs? What is the limit of those? Is there a point where it's like, okay, at this car, talk about maybe doing 9-inch?
This is delayed.
Are they pretty
Get
solid?
under the cover.
Everyone,
Stop. I can't hear him. You guys gotta be quiet. I didn't hear a thing you said. Sorry. Try it again.
the new 6-packs, the rear end, it looks just like differentials. Is there a horsepower limit where it's like, okay, we have to move away from that into a custom setup, a billet housing, a 9 or something, or is a stock diff race kind of the ticket?
Who knows? I mean, we're the ones that have pushed it so far, and I still am driving on mine. Like you said, you hit it on the head. It does look like the current diffs that are in the modern vehicles. Is geared different. I believe it, like I said, it's a 355 gear. So I think it might be a nice upgrade for like a NA 392. So that's something I wanted to kind of explore to see is kind of what it would take to bolt one into a previous Scat Pack. Because, for that originally it was a, 309, and then you had to jump to like a 370 out of a manual Hellcat if you wanted, or the 390 for a Scat Pack direct bolt-in,
I mean, that would be like a NAG 1 car if you can do like a 15 cradle and get a 355 in there, because that's
right.
But you can't get them. They're aftermarket gear sets that.
No, yeah. So I don't know the power limits of it. I know that there's a diff brace that's going to be out soon for it, which is awesome. As we've learned over the years, that's one of the weak links of these in regards to cracking the housing. You're done? All right, say bye. Bye. So I personally haven't experienced a ton of like wheel hop. On any launches. I've tripped the tire a little bit, but I haven't had anything concerning in regards to like, oh no, something's going to let go. We did verify the axles are almost identical to Hellcat axles. I don't know if something we haven't pulled out yet to see is the spindles, kind of how it mates up to that. Because, is it possible that this is a direct swap into a 392? If the axles are the same width and everything and it, plugs into the spindles, that'd be kind of a very good, that would be killer in our setup. You know what I mean?
Dude, give us baby, please.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just that small gearing change would go a long way, especially on that 60-foot. I'd probably be able to leave in second gear more consistently and, eliminate one shift, but still pull through pretty strong. So, yeah, I don't know.
Parts bend it and all they
Yeah.
change the internals because, God, that would be so nice.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it on previous ones. My biggest concern is the T case.
Yeah.
That, it doesn't look much different than the ones from the previous, 2012 plus models. Yeah, very small. And the fact that this vehicle weighs as much as it does. Now, I can tell you the axles and the drive shaft are beefed up, but the issue we had in the previous all-wheel drive platform was the actual T-case would just crack. It's the housing. So it wasn't like the internals were failing. It literally just would crack the actual housing. So I know people cryo treated it. They made billet versions of it and they still failed. So we can be hopeful they change something we don't know about and helps to prevent that. But that's more of my concern than the rear end, just based on, what abuse we've put on stock rear ends. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
But
we'll
see. What'd you do?
I was scrolling on the connotation. It took me to Temu to buy an exhaust.
Man. Oh, there you go.
Oh, man. Someone said, speaking of axles for the 392, for a boost application, just stock 392, what are those axles good for?
Stock 392 axles, I'd probably say, they've taken stock Hellcat power. They're not that much different from like a stock Hellcat. They're in reality, when you actually look at it, they are a little thinner. But I mean, stock Hellcat axles have snapped at stock Hellcat power. The best way to avoid that is, some cradle lockouts and a diff brace that will increase the longevity of those axles and absorb some of that vibration. So, but the reality is, once you exceed stock Hellcat power is when we generally recommend to look into axle updates. Or if you are a consistent, racer where that's what you're going to do at full weight, then yeah. So that's kind of our general recommendation on it. But I do have several customers with stock axles running 9s. But there is a time and a place where they will let go.
Absolutely. Speaking of letting go, would 1100 wheel horsepower be too much for a 2018 plus stock Hellcat motor with proper fueling and supporting? Seen some people make more, and a lot say that that's too much. I mean, too much for long-term use or for a dyno?
Right. Yeah, sure. We've made 1200, 1300 wheel horsepower on bone stock Hellcat motors on the dyno. Yep. But literally my message to my customers at that point is, I leave you that setting and that tune, you put it in. I don't think it's going to last. You know what I mean? So if you ever heard of Rod to God, that's that type of power, right? And any customer that's a stock motor that we make anything over 4 digits, we have that deep conversation with them about the fact it is not reliable. I don't care what anybody tells you on the internet. These engines were not built for that type of power. So generally, our rule of thumb from what we've seen and knowing, from the Hellcat to the Red Eye to the Demon and Demon 170 platforms, 900 wheel horsepower on our dyno, right? Every dyno is a little different, but 900 wheel on our dyno is kind of that number where we get some good longevity out of our customer cars. And basically every horsepower that you go up from that point, your reliability drops just as quick. So 1100 wheel horsepower, I would never tell a customer is reliable on a stock motor. It's just not. Can you make it on the dyno? Yeah, you can. It's easy. Making horsepower on dyno is very easy. When you take it off the dyno and you go and beat on it with that, is it going to live a long time? No, it's not. Now, in my own defense, I've had several customers over the years that have made that probably that power and beyond. I mean, mid 8-second runners on stock Hellcat motors, and they lived for a long time. But the reason that they lived is because they were track cars. So they were driven on the street here and there occasionally, but literally they were, trailered to the racetrack. They were warmed up at the track. They did a hit and then they shut down, and they, temperature controlled, monitored. Spark plugs were changed after every event. Oil change was checked and changed after every event. Fueling was run out of cans. So when you take protocols like that, it seems like it lasts very long because it's living its life a quarter mile at a time. So, you know, one of my early 8-second customers, he was went 850s, bone stock motors, unported blower, just a simple upper lower with long tubes, stock head, stock cam, stock transmission, stock rear diff with a diff brace, upgraded axles in the drive shaft. But that car went 890s consistently blower only, and then went 850s on a 200 shot of nitrous. So the pulley combination, everything you had, it was making 1100 wheel horsepower, give or take 1150, possibly just under 1200 on a 200 shot of nitrous. But mind you, driving around on the street, he was not making 1100 wheel horsepower. It was just for the track hits. Also, how you make the horsepower is different, is a big, a big contributor to that as well. Like I just mentioned, our Durango Hellcat, when we were battling for the record way back when they first came out, was a simple upper lower pulley combo, not pushing it, not spinning it too high. And then we sprayed a 200 shot of nitrous on top of it as well. Very different than doing like a Kong 2650 or a porta blower super aggressive setup and going for it, because, you know, nitrous cools from the inside out. That's a big benefit, and the type of, you're not spinning something faster, which is a parasitic loss. Then also we swap it in and go turbos, right? So if you pull the blower off of a 18 Hellcat and put turbos on it to make 1100 horsepower, you need the same boost. That, you know, generally as an example, we see 120 to 150 horsepower increase when we pull the blower off and then put turbos on at the same boost level. So what I mean by that is, if you are at 900 wheel horsepower with a blower, we'll say at, 18, 19 pounds of boost, and then you pull the blower off and put turbos on and hit the same 18, 19 pounds of boost, you'll make 1,050 horsepower, give or take. That, as I explained to people, the explosion that's happening in the engine is the same, right? Because the boost level is the same, right? It's just because you're reducing the parasitic loss, it's going through the drivetrain now. So the engine is working just as hard as it did with the supercharger, but it's making and translating to more horsepower. So now what happens is your transmission and your drivetrain becomes the weak link, because your engine is safer, but now everything else is seeing the increase in horsepower. So Yeah, exactly. Now, and also to answer your question, we can look at the Demon 170. Great car to compare to for what you're looking for reliability wise and everything. A Demon 170, which is, advertised and designed to run high 8s, low 9s. That car makes on E85 roughly 930 wheel horsepower, just to give you an example on our dyno. So when you're saying you want to make 170 horsepower more over a Demon 170, and the Demon 170 engine is reinforced compared to a Hellcat, no, it's not reliable, man. And I get it that we advertise it all the time too, our big numbers that we put down. But you got to understand the talks we have with those customers is the fact we know that number is not reliable. And generally, most of those customers are prepared or are preparing for a motor build and or trans build and or, you know what I'm saying? It literally everything on the vehicle has to be changed when you hit that 4-digit number and beyond. So, but yeah, not stock motor. Definitely not stock motor.
No. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Dying over here. Let's see what else we got. Oh, for my main man, Justin, he says, 309 or 262 for the quarter mile. What is your go-to rear end?
Depends on the power that you're making. So we actually have done a ton of testing with that in my personal vehicles and employee vehicles. And I would say about 850 to 900 wheel horsepower range. The 309 loses its benefit in regards to a performance modification. So under that 900 wheel horsepower mark, we are big fans of the 309. It does help, put the power down quicker, gets you the RPM faster, getting you to that point. Pending your tire size, allows for a second gear leave, eliminating one shift usually for the quarter mile. But once you exceed 900 wheel, there's no more benefit because you're making so much power. You can utilize and leave in first gear and still produce the same 60 foots and still produce the same ETs. We had my Charger Red Eye at the same time as an employee's charger red eye. And one of us had a 309 rear end and one had a 262 rear end. We made about the same horsepower, and I was the one that had the 309 rear end and my employee had the 262. I would leave in second gear. He would leave in first gear, and we literally would finish the quarter mile at exactly the same time. I mean, our races were dead nuts even every time. We pulled the same 60 foot, same 8th mile. We ran the same tire. I mean, it literally, you're right at the, I was at 880 wheel. We never dynoed his, but like I said, I know by his combination, we were about the same. You couldn't tell what it was at that point. So for you, Justin, with the power you're at, either one will work. There's not really a benefit anymore for a 309 because of the power that you are making. So you can get a proper tire on there. I think for you, like I said, it's more of the tire combination that we need to get on there. We need a nice big sidewall. And then if you have a 309, leave in second gear, and if you have the 262, leave in first gear. And even, one of the benefits of the 262, once you start to get to the high horsepower number, is you can leave in second gear still if you have very poor track prep, because you have the amount of torque you can pull through a second gear pull, even with a 262 rear end, versus if you have a 309 already with that shorter gearing that the 309 provides, and the track is struggling, you already are leaving in second gear. You can't leave in third gear. Not recommended to do that. So having the 262 leaves open the door where if you do struggle with track prep, like I know you do, leaving in second gear helps to control that torque a little bit better. So wouldn't be a bad idea to try that out.
Not a bad deal, brother.
Yeah.
We're starting to kind of get towards the end of it.
Yep.
This is from the comments. You're remote tuning my Hellcat Challenger last night. Data logging. This is a turbo car. It said 26 psi. What power level, from your experience on paper, would it be making? Can you even gauge power level just off of a psi number?
Well, so a boost is a measurement of restriction, right? So I know his combination, so I can speak to it just from experience, and I can, yes, generally gauge if we know the engine setup, being that, this one has a baby cam in it, and, it's a turbo application. We can gauge roughly what power it's making, but boost is a measurement restriction, so that will vary. But knowing the specs on there, at 26 pounds, you're probably, you don't have good fuel in it, man. I know I was talking to the gentleman assisting with tuning. The fuel is your problem. You're struggling to get close to 70% ethanol. So I have timing pulled out of it with that big boost. So at 26 pounds, you're probably sitting, you're probably at about 1200 wheel, 1150, 1200 wheel with the timing that's in it right now. And it's a safety thing because of the lack of the octane you have with the ethanol that you're running. So for those that don't know, it's a single turbo setup with a cam. So on a Hellcat. So it's roughly, I'd say 1150, 1200 wheel, just to try to keep it safe with the ethanol quality that you're working with. On my dyno. Again, every dyno is different and who operates it, but that would be on my dyno. So, and yes, Brandon, track prep. What is track prep?
She's going to be a performer. How is the six-pack tuning going? It isn't.
Okay. But I guess he joined late. That's fine. So, John, we talked about, we were told originally before we bought the vehicle that the PCM that was coming in it was going to be accessible, and it was not. So it is not the computer in it that we were told was going to be in it. So we are very, very, very upset by that. So right now we are still rocking with the JB4 from Berger. We are going back and forth. They bought a 6-pack as well for us to kind of tag team and improve the development and rate of development for the tuning on it. So we tried intake testing on it. I will make a post next week about it. We put an aftermarket intake that we built in-house onto the 6-pack, and it lost power. So aftermarket intake is not optimal or beneficial at this point until we get tuning. So, but I know that Terry at Berger has a couple things up his sleeves that he's testing, and we're going to be testing for him as well that will hopefully allow us to get a little bit more power out of it. Yeah, so right now we're at a standstill. So I'm hopeful within, I am applying pressure to my guys at HP Tuners. They know it, but they are limited as well. So for the time being, JB4, great option, a easy way to add 80, 100 horsepower, over 120, 34 pounds of torque. It just makes it a blast to run. There you go. Yeah, that's a big, like exactly what we ran bone stock in ours. That almost to a T. I mean, that literally is the time we had on our dash and on our draggy, matched it up at a 12-1. So that's about what we're seeing. Once they break in a little bit more, I bet you with some seat time and once launch control, I got to play with it and see how the launch control varies versus foot braking. But I think with a little more time, we might be able to click off like an 1190 in it, like 1199, like right at it. Ours is currently running 1150s, 1160s with map 2 from our JB4. And I can do that consistently now with, the touring around that we've done. But we are noticing that with map 3 and above, the transmission is not happy. So it takes a little bit more to get the thing to make a quarter mile pass. I am seeing, a higher mile an hour, but because of the shifts being unhappy on the 1, 2, 2, 3, it doesn't translate to a better ET overall. So anybody out there, for the time being, I would recommend to keep it to map 2 until we kind of dial in this fueling adjustment and figure out the transmission stuff a little bit. So we're going to keep going. We did talk about we are going to be exploring exhaust modification in the next week or so, and seeing what type of benefits, pros and cons. I know on the RHO, it was very beneficial from a performance standpoint, but through a bunch of check engine lights, I threw it in the lit mode. So, it's one of those things. I'm at 320 miles and I'm over 50 miles of that is dyno sessions, being on the dyno, and I probably have 4 or 5 dozen hits on the street with it. I mean, in Mexico with it. So I don't have quite as many miles as you, but I have a lot of testing with the miles that I have. So probably by next week, it'll be over 500 and I can see if the launch control serves any benefit. But right now I can foot brake it and build about 8 pounds of boost, 10 pounds of boost and leave without torque management freaking out. So, Terry's been great with the data logging and the feedback and everything. And where we're going to get these things as far as we can, as quickly as we can, and just keep our fingers crossed for, full on tuning. So, that being said, I think it's time to go. I saw my mailbox filling up with some tunes. Tulo needs to put some pants on.
Yep.
So thanks again for everybody checking in when you did. We will be back next week. Everybody stay warm this weekend. Do you want to say bye? Want to say bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Everybody have a safe, happy weekend. Stay warm. We'll see you next week.